Okay, well, I'm going to get started. Today, we're talking about nutrition, the diabetes, the best diet for people who have diabetes is the most nutritious diet. And calories, that way we want every calorie that we have, we want it to have nutrition with it too. So we have a little conversation map back here, and I can start at the beginning. But basically, you can see here there's a group of people eating, and after they eat, they have this ice cream truck here, and they're all figuring out what they're going to have. But this one guy is very grumpy. He thinks because he has diabetes, no, he thinks because he has diabetes he can't have ice cream. But that's where we talk about the food groups. And ice cream is a carbohydrate, and carbohydrate is a very important food group. So we don't want to get people angry, and we don't want people to tell people with diabetes, oh, you can't have that, you have diabetes. That is the worst. So we're going to talk about the food groups in a little bit, but a balanced meal with vegetables and protein. And if you know that you're going to have cake or ice cream, then you're not going to have the carbohydrate of that meal. That will keep everything in order. And the other thing is, years ago, we used to think, well, you have your meal, you wait an hour or so, and then you have your dessert. And we're finding that that really keeps your blood sugar high for a really long time. It's better if you have that cake and dessert with your meal. So finish your meal, and 5 minutes later, have your ice cream. Don't wait the half hour, but you don't have to have cake and chicken in the same bite or anything like that. Just, wait a couple minutes, not an hour. And then they're showing all of the potluck dinners. A lot of those can be loaded with fat and carbohydrates. There's not a lot of nutrition in those two things. So look at the potluck dinners and pick out the ones that have more of the vegetables, more of the lean proteins, the turkey and the chicken and that type of thing. Hello, welcome. Come on in. I'm Kirsten. We're doing nutrition, and everybody has a mask on. You look familiar. Have you been here before? What's your name? Marie. How are you? Yeah, we're trying to keep about 6 feet apart, but have a seat. If you want to sit, well, the only thing is I can't see you with the camera here. That's fabulous. I got the windows open. We got the air purifier going. We're all at least 6 feet apart. So I'm so glad you came today. We're talking about the diabetes nutrition and like I said before, the best diet for people who have diabetes is the most nutrition. So we want to have, anytime you take a bite of something, you want there to be a lot of nutrition in that. And there's not a lot of nutrition in the simple carbs or the sugary drinks, the fatty foods. We want to have something that has more vegetables and that type of thing in it. You can definitely have ice cream, have it right after your meal, and have it in a meal. French fries, the bread, and that kind of thing with that meal. You're going to save it for your ice cream and your desserts later. That way it's more balanced, and you can eat everything. Then we were saying with the potluck, we want to look for things that have the lean meats in it, the turkey meatballs, or the if it's a chili, those are always good. Sometimes they'll have a lot of fat in it, but again, look for the more of the vegetables and the lean proteins. If you're bringing a dish, bring a dish that you love, that is, perfect for you. A lot of times people do, potluck dinners, they bring old mac and cheese or whatever the basic thing is, and then they get to enjoy everybody else's special dish. Maybe this is a time when you could experiment and bring something a little bit more interesting that is still a lot of nutrition, lots of vegetables and the lean proteins. When we're getting into the vegetables and the proteins, we're talking a lot about meal planning. So instead of thinking about, okay, what are we going to have for dinner Monday through Friday? So we're going to have 5 different things. If we have pork chops and chicken, we have some fish and maybe some hamburgers and maybe some other kind of chicken. Those are all the proteins. Let's think about the vegetables. So if the pork chops, you're going to probably have, I don't know, asparagus or some peas. Maybe the chicken, you would have something more exotic like mushrooms or peppers. You think about the fish, again, that's going to lean towards maybe some greens, that kind of whole grain rice. Again, the meat, if you're going to have hamburgers, what kind of things can go on a hamburger? That are plants. So it'll be lettuce, onions, but tomatoes, grill with the grilled vegetables, and thinking about more the vegetables of the meal. And you could have chicken all 5 nights, but let's just have a different vegetable. So when you're doing your meal planning and you go to the store, more than half your cart is going to be the vegetables. I highly recommend the frozen. How many times have you bought broccoli, the same thing as mine? The end of the week, it starts turning yellow. Like, really? How did that happen? I was only 4 days. So, yeah, look at, and also I'm cheap. I'm cheap. So I love all these. In their frozen section, they have meatless meatballs. They have meatless hamburgers. They're made out of soy. Soy is very good for us now. We're looking at the countries where, and the parts of the world where they eat a lot of soy, they don't have the disease or the cancer that we have here in America. There is a phytoestrogen that is a plant-based estrogen in this soy product. And one side does look like estrogen, but the other side doesn't. So if it attaches to our cells, it doesn't look like estrogen, and more estrogen can't pile on top and make a tumor. They aren't coming out and saying that soy is anti-cancer, because the foods that we eat that are cancerous outnumber the soy, and so they can't. But definitely look at the soy burgers, look at the soy milk. These all have great protein in them. Soy can be a GMO and overfarmed product. If you can find an organic one, that's always better. But I would prefer you get a conventional soy over some, you know, extra fatty, whatever, whole milk or something like this that would be extra calories, where the soy is going to be lower in calories and have more protein in it. Something to think about. So meal planning, like I said, your grocery cart is going to be a lot of vegetables. We're going to have a lot of variety. Try different things with the vegetables. Onions and peppers can make anything taste good. They're great on broccoli. They're great on green beans. Same thing with the jarred asparagus. Not asparagus, avocado. Nope. Artichokes. Have you seen the marinated artichokes? They're quartered. They come in a little jar or a big jar. In the grocery store, that jar can be $4 or $5. At Aldi's, it's $2. So take a look at the marinated artichokes. You can eat them straight. You can eat them on a salad. You can put them in pasta sauce. Again, you can mix them. I had friends over, and I didn't know they were coming. All we had was like green beans, and I think I put tomatoes and artichoke hearts on that. And I did heat it up. By the time we ate it, it was cold. They thought it was a green bean salad. I mean, it's so easy, and again, cheap. So look at all the different vegetables. You know, the avocados are good for fat. The asparagus has something in it that helps us, our insulin receptors be more prominent, so that our sugar stays low. So look at asparagus. However, don't look at the frozen asparagus. It doesn't do well. And the best time to have asparagus is in the spring and the summer. We're starting to wean. I don't know if you've seen the asparagus in the store. It looks a little funny. If you don't want to have asparagus through the fall and the winter, perfectly fine with that. But look at all the different greens, the bok choys. It has more of a bitter taste. So again, you know, you could do it with some more onions. You can do it with just sauteing it up with some garlic. Just I don't know, I'm not a big, it's mostly fiber. How much fiber? It's like 1 or 2 grams more than Swiss chard or spinach or all these other things. So take a look at that. Okay, so meal planning, again, we're concentrating on how we can make our meals more delicious with vegetables. And having, well, the other thing about meal planning, let's talk about with diabetes, the pancreas. When you have diabetes, your pancreas is having trouble. That's how you ended up with the diabetes. The pancreas is what makes insulin. In our cells, I don't know if you remember, we have these insulin receptors. It works out that when we eat food, our bloodstream gets more sugar in it. Glucose, they call it. The same thing, sugar. And when we have calcium, magnesium, all these different nutrients, the nutrients can go from our bloodstream through the membranes and get into our cells very easily. But the sugar is big and it's scratchy. It can't get through. So there has to be these insulin receptors that open the cell. So from the bloodstream, it can get out of the blood vessel, and then with the insulin opening the door, it can get into the cells. And when we eat food, we get high blood sugar, and the sugar goes into our cells. It makes us, hopefully it's muscle cells, you know, moving around, and then it will make muscle for us. So does anybody have any questions? I've kind of gone through a lot pretty quickly. Okay. And any questions over here? I have to take my. I guess we don't have any questions. Okay, great. Ooh. And then, okay, so we talked about meal planning. It's better on your pancreas if you can have morning when you get out of bed, a couple hours, spend 2.5 hours, you haven't eaten anything, your body gets worried, gets stressed, and it increases your blood sugar. I was just talking to a guy yesterday. He wakes up, he only checks his blood sugar before meals. And before lunch, it's like 75, 85. Before dinner, it's like 95, 75. You know, lunch and dinner are great, 115, beautiful. But before breakfast, before the first meal of his day, it's 170, 150. I'm like, why is it so high? He gets up around 4:30. He doesn't eat until about 11. So if you, and all it takes is, you know, some blueberries and some nuts. I can talk about the food groups in a little bit, but just a small snack just to calm your body down so it knows that food is coming. But yeah, people who skip breakfast, I'm fine if you skip breakfast, but just have a little bite. It could be a protein shake, it could be peanut butter crackers, it could be just some fruit and nuts, you know, whatever you like. But 170 when all of his other meals are, you know, well, 175 is a little low, but you know, that kind of thing. So thinking about breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you know, I just called it that, but you know, 3 meals, or 2 meals and a little tiny snacks, whatever, however it works for you. The other thing I want to talk about, I think, is we're going to get into the food groups. That's this farmer's market right here. So these are the food groups we grew up with. It's called the starches and the fruits and the milks and the vegetables and the meats and the fats and the sweets. The real food groups are the macronutrients. It's carbohydrates and fiber, they go together. Protein and fat, they go together. So like I said in the morning, if you wanted to have a little snack, berries and nuts, the berries have the carbohydrates and the fiber, and the nuts have the proteins and the fat. Whether it's all walnut oil or peanut oil or cashew, all nuts have a little bit of oil in them. Same thing with cheese, same thing with chicken, same thing with everything, really everything except for the plant-based proteins. The tofu, the seitan, the tempeh, that basically has no fat in it at all. So when you have these plant-based proteins, it's a great way to lose weight because it doesn't have so much fat in it. So something to think about. So when we talk about the carbohydrates and the fiber, the starches, they have bread and popcorn and donuts and pasta. I don't know what those are, buns, I guess, potatoes, corn would go in this section, potatoes, corn, sweet potatoes. These, they call them starches. There is some fiber in them, but these are really a lot of carbohydrates, which is good. We don't want to have no carbohydrates, but just so you know, there is a lot of carbohydrates in there. The fruit, now this one has a little bit more fiber, but this is also a carbohydrate. So whether it is, you know, I think those are mangoes and apples, green apples and red apples are the same, by the way. Somebody said, oh, have the green apples, they're tart, they have less carbs. They're exactly the same. So if you don't like the green ones, you don't have to have them. And now there's such a variety of apples out there. So that is really good. So know that the fruits are just like the pasta and the bread, except they have a little bit more fiber in them. That's why I don't want you to have fruit juice, because that's worse than bread. So we do not need to have juice. We can get all of our vitamin C from potatoes and broccoli. So it doesn't always have to be oranges and that kind of thing. They call this section here milk. I would rather skip over that section and go to the vegetables. So we have the starches is very refined, hardly any fiber. We have the fruits, again, a carbohydrate has a little bit more fiber. The vegetables are almost all fiber and a lot of nutrients. There is some nutrients in the fruits. That's going to be mostly vitamin C, vitamin A. There is some vitamins in the starches. That's going to be, again, vitamin C and vitamin B. B gives us energy. But when you get to the vegetables, not only is it the whole multivitamin, but what's in a multivitamin they think is only 10% of what you get out of vegetables. Cyclocabalidin, all these different phytonutrients. It is so much. We find that it's so very, very important. So always think eggplants and cabbage and cauliflower, zucchini, cucumbers, iceberg lettuce. Yeah, it has 15 calories in 2 cups, but honestly, it has all these phytonutrients we don't know about. It has vitamin C, magnesium, all kinds of good things. So don't poo-poo the iceberg lettuce. It's got a nice crunch. So, so these are all going to be carbohydrates. They call this the milk here, but I will put beans and hummus and yogurt and cheese. So it's half carbs and half protein. And that's going to be that section here. course, they don't have the hummus and beans in there, but that's where that would be. It's got lots of fiber, lots of nutrients, but it is half carbohydrates, but it's also a lot of protein. So again, think about there's beans and chili and a vegetarian chili and all that kind of thing. I would also put in here the plant-based proteins. There's 3 that I really like. Impossible Burger, the Beyond Meat. They have a sausage. It's amazing on the grill. And the Impossible Burger I make meatloaf with. It's like ground meat. You can't believe it. It comes out of the package bloody. You put it in the pan and it turns brown like meat. Like, what? Beets don't do that. But it has good ingredients in it. It does have a lot of ingredients, but they're all like whole food, you know, pea protein and tapioca starch, all these kind of good things. So the Impossible Burger, the Beyond Meat, and the other one is a breakfast sausage. Remember Jimmy Dean breakfast sausage? Light Life makes a Gimme Lean. And I believe there's literally 1 gram of fat in it. So this is something where you would saute onions and peppers with a little bit of oil. You put the sausage in there. The peppers and onions will make some juices. Then you slice the sausage and you put it in the pan. I'll also put some last night's potatoes in there, just like 1 cup or 1 potato. Dice it up, put it in there. Cook it before if you know you're going to make it really quick. And then whatever greens, it's delicious with ketchup. It's fantastic. And you're going to make that tube of Gimme Lean sausage is 8 servings. And each serving is 2 ounces. And that's like 15 grams of protein per person. So like I said, you make it once and then you put it in the freezer in little bags and you can have it every morning. So that's again, it's the plant-based proteins are going to have a little bit of carbohydrate and a lot of protein, hardly any fat. So that is kind of, no, this is the carbohydrate section. And then we have the protein section. They have meat here, but I will put in nuts and seeds and beans, hummus, and all these kind of things. The plant-based proteins, again, they can be a meal, just like the meat of the dinner can be the meal, whether you're doing an Impossible Burger meatloaf, or you're going to do the breakfast hash with a sausage, or if you're going to do tofu now comes baked and marinated. It's great in a stir fry instead of the grilled chicken. Again, I'm telling you this because, 1, it has very less fat, it has a lot more protein, and they're finding that our pancreas has trouble with animal protein. So with animal protein, we have to have insulin, DPP4, GLP-1, there's some bile, there's all these different things that the pancreas has to make every time we have animal protein. But if you eat the plant-based proteins, all the pancreas has to give you is a little bit of insulin. So if you want your pancreas to heal, look at meatless meals. There's some great vegetarian chilies out there you can do with the chorizo seitan. So it still has the punch of protein and the punch of spice. It's not all just beans all the time. But think about that. So this one, yes, the meats are, we always think of them as protein. But you know, having a plant-based proteins during the week is a really good time. You know what, really, there's not that much carbohydrates in it. It really would go there. Then over here, the fats and the sweets. I mean, it makes life delicious. So when you know you're going to have ice cream at home, or you're going to have a cake or somebody's birthday, or you're going to celebrate, have those on those special times, maybe once a week. But to have a fat and a sweet every single day, unless it's dark chocolate, it's going to be detrimental, excuse me, to your blood sugar and your you know, the insulin and all that kind of thing. So think about having these less often. These are great to have before you exercise. So if you know you're going to do some gardening, if you know you're going to go on a hike, you know, these are, you could definitely bring, you know, trail mix or granola bars or all these kind of things. That would be a wonderful thing. Another idea is planning. Well, let me ask about do we have any questions about the food groups, the carbohydrates and the fiber with the protein and the fat? Anybody? Oh, I got to take this off. Any questions? I think we're good. Nope. Okay. No questions. Okay, great. So then with the food groups, we're going to look at the different situations. So we have the family celebrations, the dinner party, the sporting events, eating alone, sick days. These are all part of life. And, you know, we have to have a plan for how we eat. And family celebrations, like I said, when you know you're going to celebration, if you normally don't drink and you're going to walk in, they're going to give you a glass of champagne, and you know it, have a snack before that champagne or that alcohol is like a toxin to our bodies, and it will stress your body, and you'll start off the whole night with a high blood sugar. So if you can get something to eat, cheese, crackers, whatever you see there before they give you the champagne, that's a great idea. But also having the meal before the party, and you're not going to have the potatoes or the bread or the rice or things, because then you can save your carbs for the cake and the ice cream and all that kind of thing. Same thing with dinner parties, like I said, with the potluck things. Look at either bringing something healthy that you enjoy, that others would enjoy too, of course, and then trying others where there's more of the vegetable dishes. That's going to be a better thing. If there is no problem with you trying every single one of those. I'm not saying you can't have the mac and cheese, but you know, you're not going to have half your plate be mac and cheese. You just have a little taste of it, and then fill your plate with more things that have vegetables in them. Sporting events are really tough. At the Eagle Stadium, the Link, and you know, Phillies, I'm trying to think. Maybe they have some sauerkraut. But really eat before you go, I think, and bring something good to the tailgate before you go, grilled vegetables, whatever it is. Um, you know, your grilled meats and stuff, have it with the grilled vegetables and that kind of thing. I think that would be the best. I just totally give up on the sporting events. Popcorn is great. You know, they have hot dogs. You could put stuff on it, but just know that there's a lot of fat in that. And I think I told you, when we eat fat, the fat goes into our bloodstream. And the first thing it goes to is insulin receptors. So they cannot open and let the sugar out of your bloodstream into your cells. They have to wait until that fat gets dissolved, and then, and so it keeps your blood sugar up for a really long time. So whether you have diabetes or you don't, that's how fat works. People say, oh, you can eat fat, it doesn't make you fat. It totally blocks your insulin receptors and keeps that sugar in your bloodstream. And when your liver is watching everything's going on, and it notices that your bloodstream has a lot of sugar in it, it'll take some of that sugar for nighttime when you don't eat, you know, because you need to have the energy. But then it's like, you have all these nutrients, we want to keep it, so it's going to store it as fat. So anytime that you have a high blood sugar for an extended amount of time, you know, more than 2 hours, the liver's like, yay, I can make some fat out of that. So don't give the liver the chance. Try to have things that don't have so much fat in them, and then move around, because that causes your cells to absorb sugar even without the insulin. So you know, that's being active, and that's important. Eating alone, see how she has her little plate there with all her food in that? That is the best way. If you're gonna don't do as I do, yeah, do as I say. So many times I'll be like, oh, this little chip, I'm only gonna have 5 chips, but I don't want to get a bowl dirty, so I'll just bring the bag. And then I'll look at my husband, he goes, why did you eat all my chips? He didn't have one. No, that is very sneaky. So watch out for the eating alone, prepare for it, have your little bowl there, or your meal, you know, serve yourself what you know you need to have. And you know, a person, everybody's palm is a little bit bigger, but that's basically how much fish or chicken or hamburger or whatever you're going to have, whether it's plant-based, tofu, whatever you got, but you need about that much. That volume is about 3 or 4 ounces, depending on how big you are. A bigger person is going to need more protein, so that's a good way to tell. I had this one guy, he was like 6'10", 6'9", something like that. He had a duck when he came through the door. And sure enough, his hand, just his palm, was as big as my whole hand. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That's how much meat he needs to have. So, you know, that's a good way to do it. So eating alone, portion your food, but you definitely want to have a decent dinner. If 2 hours after dinner you're hungry, you didn't have enough dinner. Same thing with lunch. 2 hours after lunch, boy, I could really go for something. What happened to your lunch? You should have had more of that. And breakfast too. So it's better for your digestive system to eat and then wait 4 to 6 hours. But there's a lot of people out there who've been promoting eating every 2 hours. Yeah, that's hard on your pancreas. It's hard on your GI system. It's better to wait, you know, 4 to 6 hours. This little thing is going all over the place here. Let's see. Oh, and the last thing is sick days. I don't know if any of your doctors have talked to you about sick days. If you're on medicines, you want to continue to take your medicine. That medicine does things so that your blood sugar stays low. Some of it is insulin, some of it is metformin, some of it is Jardiance, all these things different, they work on your kidneys. Everything works on something different. This mask is not staying up, sorry. But continue to take your medicine, because whether you eat cake, you twist your ankle, you get a toothache, all those times you have high blood sugar. When your body doesn't feel healthy, it increases your blood sugar. If you are sick and you've got some inflammation, maybe you have a headache, or maybe you worked out too hard. Can you imagine being at the gym, you worked out too hard and your muscles are sore? Haven't done that in a really long time, but that is an irritation, and it makes your blood sugar go up. So whether you're sick, you have the flu, or you worked out too hard, or you have toothache, that medicine keeps your blood sugar stable. So don't quit it. Like somebody said, oh, I'm sick, I shouldn't take my metformin. Please take your Basaglar, whatever it is, your Lantus. Just keep it nice and even. You can even check your blood. Some people, if you're really sick, you could check your blood sugar every 2 hours and see if it gets up above 200, you might have to get more medicine. So you would talk to your doctor. But basically, if you can keep fluids in every half hour, no sugar out of your veins. The biggest thing with getting sick is the increased blood sugar. So we want to reduce it with medicine and water, broth, herbal tea, anything like that. If you're not on medicine, then try to drink more water when you're sick. That's the most important thing. So we have the family events, or the life events. Do we have any questions here? You guys have any questions? And do you guys have any questions? Lucy?
Yes. Well, was somebody else talking?
No, you're good. Hi, Lucy
Okay.
Green.
My question is, how many, if you had a 1,800 calorie diet, how do you break it down between simple carbs and differentiating between simple carbs and healthy carbs and protein? How do you differentiate? Can you break that down for me?
Yes. So how do we break down an 1,800 calorie diet for the carbs and the protein and everything?
Yes.
What we're going to do, I'm not going to ask you to count calories, but if you did happen to have a prepackaged meal for 1,800 calories, you want to divide that by 3 for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that works out to be about 600 calories. So if that box says it's only 300 calories, you want to have 2 of them. The other thing we want to look at is put all the food on the plate, and hopefully the protein will be, like I said, the size of your palm. And then we want to have this equal amount of carbohydrates, whether it's rice or cornbread or whatever it is. We don't want that to be any bigger than the protein. So just eyeballing it. And then the same thing with the vegetables. You want that vegetable to be half your plate. So
I'd be more comfortable if you could be out. Can you be specific?
But basically, you don't need as much protein as they thought. In the hospital, if you are in overnight in the bed, they might give you a feeding tube, and in that feeding tube, 0.8 grams per kilogram is how much protein they give you in the hospital. Okay, you want me to be more specific about the protein?
Okay.
It depends on how big you are. I'm sorry, I can't be more specific than the palm of your hand for the protein. The same thing for the carbs, and twice that for the vegetables.
All right.
You want 5 cups of vegetables a day. That is a lot, but so that's why we want to have a little bit of vegetables with our breakfast, whether it's onions and peppers or it's blueberries. I'll count berries as a vegetable. They have a lot of protein. I mean, a lot of fiber and carbs.
Did you say 5 cups, not half cups, but 5 full cups a day? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, I said 5 cups of vegetables a day.
Okay, fine.
Well, 5 cups a day. I think that's a big thing to show. And look at the protein as your hand, because some people who are over 200 pounds, they're going to need like 25 grams of protein in a meal. But if you're only 150 pounds, you won't need more than 10 grams. So it really look at your size of your hand. Okay, so breaking down the 600 calories a meal, you're going to have a lot of vegetables. The calories, they're going to be probably less than that. Most of the calories is going to come from the protein, and a good bit is going to come from the carb, because usually the carb has fats in it too, whether it's mashed potatoes with sour cream or butter, toasted butter, rice and gravy, it's going to have some fat in it. So you don't want to have, if you have a 600-calorie meal, you're probably going to have, I don't know, 150 calories in the vegetables, and all the rest will be the carbs and the fiber. That's why we want to limit the size of the starches and the protein to be half the size of the vegetables. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. So we talked about the events. We talked about the farmers market. We talked about fat blocking the insulin receptors. So this Greasy's burger joint, we want to have as much vegetables with that burger as we can. Lettuce and tomato and peppers, whatever you can put on, mushrooms. If you want to take the patty out and put on your napkin first, some of these soy burgers, they can be greasy, excuse me, and I don't know, I think that's a good one. Then the bar and grill, we're talking about the alcohol. Again, it makes more of a toxin to your body, so we have to have it with a meal. Don't start off on an empty stomach. Don't start an empty stomach with alcohol or with the simple starches or the fruits. We want to have something in your stomach. If you have a simple carb, it is the easiest thing to digest. It goes in your stomach. It goes right through the membranes, right into your blood cells, your blood vessel, your bloodstream. If we can coat your stomach and your intestines with fat and fiber and protein, then the carbohydrate can't get through so easily. So think about, if you're going to have, an apple or something. Well, actually, an apple has so much fiber in it. I think eating an apple by itself is fine. It's more if you're just having like a bowl of watermelon or a pineapple or something like that, then I would have some trail mix or some meal with it. And same thing with the bar and grill. Have your meal first, or at least a few bites of it before you go into the alcohol. Don't let anybody tell you you can't have everything. You can have everything in the world. You just have to figure out if it's a carbohydrate and a fiber or a protein and a fat, and then balance it so that you have more vegetables than you do the proteins. And then when to eat. We have a little clock here. I'm off the scale here. This is a town clock. Eat when you wake up, within 2 hours of waking up. Eat midday. And eat in the evening. The digestive system doesn't do as well when you're not active and the sun isn't up. So if you eat your biggest meal at the end of the day, you're going to have GERD. That's what they're finding. The research for GERD, for the acid reflux, is people who are having very little during the day. They have a big meal at night. They lay down, and then the acid comes up. So if we can have most of your food for breakfast and lunch, you won't be as hungry for dinner. If you do eat at 5 or 6 o'clock at night and you don't go to bed until midnight or 12, you might need something between 9 and 10. And again, we're going to look at the carbohydrates and the fiber, and the proteins and the fat. Could be apple and peanut butter, cheese and crackers, hummus. I would do hummus with vegetables because hummus has a lot of carbs in it. You don't need to have the cracker. But yeah, hummus and those little cherry tomatoes or little slices of cucumber or baby carrots. I like all of that. It says eat 3 times a day, eat each meal or snack around the same time each day. This is interesting. I wore a Dexcom, and Dexcom is a continuous glucose monitor. I don't have diabetes, but I just wanted to know, and they offered it to me. And every day I would come home from work at about 4:45 and have a big snack because I was, it's a hard day over at endocrinology. And then on the weekends, I would notice at about 4:45, my sugar would go up because the body's ready for you to have this big snack. I thought that was interesting. So try to eat, within an hour of your meals every day, the same time. Yeah, do not skip meals. If you know you're going to be busy and you don't have time to eat, just bring some cheese and crackers or peanut butter, a little sandwich or something so that, you get your carbohydrates and fiber and protein and fat. And even if it's just 200 calories, 300 calories, that'll carry you. And learn to balance the times you take your medicine for the diabetes and the times that you eat. I don't know if anybody here is on insulin, but it takes about 20 minutes for it to kick in. So try to eat like the same amount every day so your insulin is always going to be the same. And if you don't know, if you're going to have more insulin later, you can take half before your meal, eat your meal, and then if you want some more, get yourself some more insulin and eat some more. So it's not like it's have whatever size lunch you have and then take it at the end if you need to have more of it. But that's a good one. Are there any questions? Actually, the question was, what is the best time to take insulin? If it's a fast-acting insulin, you want to take it 20 minutes before your meal, half hour before your meal. How can I do this with this? I'm just going to leave that. When you, let's see, when your blood sugar, when you eat, your blood sugar goes up pretty much within 10, 15 minutes. It goes up pretty quickly. Insulin takes a long time to start. So if you start at 20 minutes into it, then catch up, and your blood sugar will catch up to the insulin. So if you take your insulin first and then you eat, and this is working up, by the time the sugar is high from you eating, that's how long it takes the insulin to kick in, so that you have insulin there, so they can go, the sugar can get out of your bloodstream into your cells.
I know you said fast acting, but one time you mentioned that sometimes the insulin is really short-lived or something.
That is true. That's true. Let me just say one other thing. If you're talking about Lantus or Basaglar or some of these insulins, you either take first thing in the morning, and it's good for 24 hours or 12 hours. You just keep taking that at the exact same time. It takes so long for that to kick. I'm with somebody, he takes Basaglar, 92 units. That's a lot. So at 10 o'clock at night, he'll have peanut butter and jelly. And then he takes his Basaglar. That Basaglar doesn't kick in for like 2 or 3, 4 hours. So you want to take it pretty much within an hour or two every day, the same time, but you don't need to have a meal with it. So that's the long acting. And some of these even act like 40 hours. Did you have a question? You can't hear me? Does that work? Yeah, can you hear me? Nope. Yeah, you can hear me now, right? Okay. Is there a question? Okay.
No.
Sorry about that. Okay, so the two kinds of insulin. If it's the bolus before a meal, you need to take it 15, 20 minutes before. If it's the regular nighttime you take once a day, you don't have to have a snack with that. Then you asked, what did you just ask about?
Well, I mean, I know there are 2 different kinds, but I think
What was the other question?
I was talking about, you answered the one about if it's fast acting, you kind of try to time it.
Yeah, the fast acting you have to time. And you had another question, and we both can't remember. but when you think about it, there is so many medicines now that insulin is great for bringing your sugar down fast, but there's other ones that you would take regularly, and it would just maintain, there's pills. And
what's the difference between the ones that are insulin and like the Victozas too? Some
okay,
of them are not insulin, right?
that's right. Yeah, we're going to have a whole medicine visit, but I will tell you that there are 8 different classes of medicines to work on 8 different parts of your body to help you reduce your blood sugar. So it's not just your pancreas, and it's not just your diet. It has to do with your brain, your intestines, your kidneys, I mean, all kinds of things. So what'd you say? And digestion too. There's a lot of medicines that slow your stomach, so that way the sugar doesn't go into your veins so fast. Lactose is one of those. But the other thing, so what I'm telling you about the medicines and the food and the sick day and all that kind of thing is, if you're not comfortable on your medicine and it's not working, if you just feel uncomfortable, talk to your doctor. He can put you into a different class. And then you can, and I know the doctors, they often are trying to do this through your insurance, and they're trying to get that, but there is a way that the doctors can get a medicine for you if your insurance doesn't cover it, if this one that you're on is just a real pain in the neck. Okay, so we talked about timing, we talked about the food groups, talked about the special occasions and meal planning. And the biggest thing is your family and friends around you. You're going to have more of the nutrients and they're going to have more of the carbs and the fats. So that's my only question. Now, yeah, Ted.
I guess I was looking at the food groups. I'm trying to think about I know I know we've talked about before is the apple cider vinegar and taking that. Is that a certain time? Like when like you were mentioning digestion, that's what I was thinking. Maybe does that help your digestion better, or doesn't?
The
Is this
studies,
bad, or
it's not bad, it's not good. I would use it as a salad dressing, but the cider vinegar, the way that it works, all the studies are showing it upsets your stomach. So you're not hungry, so then you won't eat as much. That's how it works. It doesn't really have to do a lot with blood sugar. There's lemon water that is also, I think that like, I don't know, just stimulates your digestion, but it really doesn't, it's not a big, medicines work out so much better to lower your blood sugar, or having vegetables and proteins that don't have so many carbohydrates, and then not having so much fat in your diet. That'll do a lot better for getting your cells to be sensitive to having lots more doors. Activity, definitely. If you can, go for a walk, a 5, 10, 15-minute walk. If you can go for a half an hour walk after lunch, wow, that was fantastic. And it will make your cells have more insulin receptors. So then when you do get sugar in your veins, the insulin comes, it has lots of choices of doors that can get all opened, and then gets out of your bloodstream. So that would be a better thing. Is there any other questions? Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Nope. Okay. Can you hear me okay? You see, you can hear me, right? Yep. Okay, good. Okay, I appreciate everyone helping me with the Zoom, and I appreciate your patience with the Zoom. Diet is big with helping, lower your blood sugar, whether you have diabetes or not. In the United States, we do not have a protein deficit. We have a vegetable deficit. And we also, right now with quarantine, oh, I have so many people calling me right now. I don't know what happened. I just gained 10 pounds. We're not going to work. We're working from our home. We're not how it was before. And we have less activity in our lives, so we really need less calories and more activity, and it's tough, and we're going into the winter, so we need to have a plan. And all I can say about being more sensitive to insulin by having more vegetables and being more active, especially after meals, is YouTube is decent. When this was April and we were looking at exercise on YouTube for I don't know, whatever you want. It was so much of the P90X and pump you up and body, all this craziness. Now they have chair yoga. They have yoga for flexibility. They have pop tunes that you can move to. It's just a whole lot more fun. And you can do it in 10, 15, 20-minute segments instead of these 45-minute or hour pump you up type of things. So I have to say I'm very pleased with the choices on YouTube. I found this one. It was a grandmother who was like 65, her daughter who was like, I don't know, I guess she would be 45, and her daughter who was 30 or something like this. I don't know math, maybe she was 25. And they were on a cul-de-sac. And honestly, I think they were in Nigeria, but they spoke in English. And they were doing all these amazing dances, that you wouldn't think about doing with your legs and your arms and bending down and doing all this stuff. And all the countries of Africa, different music, including the islands. And it was just so much fun. And I think it was 20 minutes. I love the 20 minutes. But, take a look at YouTube. When you click on, African music, or you click on, chair yoga or pop tunes. There's this one guy, he's from Britain. His name's AJ, and he does things for people in wheelchairs. So you guys aren't in that situation. So you could do some things with your legs while you're in the chair, but it's super fun, with the head and all this kind of stuff and moving forward. And you'll see all these wheelchairs go over here, and then the whole class of wheelchairs goes over there. Just that alone is amusing, and it, gets your blood pumping. So think about exercising after a meal. The one thing I tell you about this, I have a few more minutes, is about hormones. So there's two hormones that balance when we're hungry and we're full. The full one is called leptin, and the hungry one is called ghrelin. Ghrelin, like your stomach is growling because you're hungry. So ghrelin and leptin. And when you wake up in the morning, your body is on ghrelin. You haven't eaten for a long time. And a lot of people will get up, they'll have a drink of water, and then they'll go to the gym. They are in the ghrelin mode. It's very difficult to burn fat that way. If they had some berries and nuts, maybe a granola bar, they go to the gym, then they're in the leptin mode. That's a great mode to burn fat and make muscles. So think about having a snack. If if it's more than 2 hours after you've eaten, think about having a snack before you do your activity. Or like I said, do it, an hour or two after your breakfast or after your lunch or after your dinner. Sitting always wants more sitting. So after dinner, you're exhausted. Think about at least just walking around the block, going to the mailbox and back, or whatever, backyard, whatever you have. But it really helps with insulin sensitivity and lowering your blood sugar and just keeping your body intact. And now the new research is coming out that your gut biome that runs a lot of what your body does. It isn't just a good poop schedule, and not just for the bathroom schedule, but they find that people who are more active have more effective bugs in their intestines and their stomach. They can get more nutrition out of their food because of these bugs. They can balance their hormones better. They're sleeping better. Their head is clearer. So think about activity, because it really helps the bugs. Who knew that? So I don't know what else to talk to you about. I talk about bloodstream and gut biome. The other thing about the gut biome, those bugs, they love the vegetables. The starches that are in vegetables just cheer them up. And the more grains, whether it's rice or millet or freekeh or quinoa or all these different grains, they support different bugs. And the more of a variety you have, the more you can resist disease and the more nutrition you can absorb from your food. So think about a lot of variety. That's always going to be good. Just watch out for the animal proteins. The eggs and the cheese are in this group too. That you don't need to have animal protein at every single meal. You can do things with nuts and seeds and peanut butter and almond butter and cashew butter, and there's so many different things out there. The phytonutrients, vitamins, and minerals are mostly in the vegetables. There are a few in the others, but they're mostly in the vegetables. Water. How can I tell you about water?
Doesn't that help? More water helps you get rid of some of the sugars.
Yes, absolutely. It keeps things flowing so your kidneys can get rid of all that sugar. We don't want to have too much. I'm seeing a lot of people with kidney disease right now. How come that's not working? And the kidney disease, hold on a second. Oh my goodness. There we go. There we go. Yeah, so I had a woman with kidney disease, and she needed to have literally 60 ounces of water. That was her amount. That was her size that she could handle. And she was drinking a gallon. A gallon is 120 ounces. And her kidneys were not getting better. And I said, well, let's get down to like 70 ounces. I mean, are you that thirsty? She goes, oh, no, I force myself. And even at night, I drink it, and I have to get up in the bag. So we got her back down to 70, and her kidney function improved. So there's all this about you got to drink water for kidneys. Hydrate. Take a drink of water when you feel like you need a snack. Our bodies can't get confused whether you're thirsty or hungry. So try to have a drink of water and then see if you're still hungry, because you might have just been thirsty. And like I said.
Lucy, question. You said vegetables, 5 cups. What kind of, just green vegetables? What about beets? What about carrots, green beans? What's your recommendation?
Hi, thank you for that question. As for the vegetables, it's everything that is a plant, whether it is seeds and nuts, whether it is tomatoes and zucchini and the nightshade family. Anything that is a plant is counted as a good fiber. There's no fiber in anything from an animal, cheese and yogurt and chicken, and they don't have any fiber in it. So to get some fiber in for the good bugs, it's every single vegetable. It's beets and carrots. The 3 that are the highest vegetables that are highest in carbs are going to be the white potatoes, the corn, white potatoes and corn. What else? Oh, sweet potatoes. White potatoes, sweet potatoes, and corn. Those are the highest ones in starch. The fruits are the other ones that are high in starch. The carbohydrates. And yeah, so this thing about don't have sweet onions or don't have what do people say? Carrots, onions, beets. What are some other vegetables people say? Peas are they're almost as high as beans. but I still think corn blows that away. Corn is really a starch. We really got to look at corn as potatoes. Did that help?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I'm trying to do, yeah, so the rainbow of vegetables is really good. There is a guy on PBS diet. He doesn't want you to have any lectins. Lectins are gluten from different, whatever it's from, beans or grains. And the gluten, yeah, wheat is very concentrated right now. They've really hybridized it. It's not GMO, it's just the hybrid of it. And that does give a lot of people problems. But these lectins, these other glutens, are very good for us. When you look at the world and who's living on beans and rice and squashes and all these things, these are the very healthy people either in South America or in Asia. So this Stephen Gundry, if you're ever thinking, oh, I need the non-lectin diet, then you're going to get sick. Beans do need to be cooked. I will say, don't eat raw beans. That is a lectin that is going to be too strong for you. So, you know, but I don't know how many people will go get a bag of black beans and grind it up and eat it. There was some fad in Japan where they did that and everybody got sick. And he's like, oh, well, maybe we were sick from the lectins. And no, we are not. So, anyway, beans and nuts are good. And just know that beans have half carbs and half protein. So we're doing pretty good. Is there any other questions from you guys? Any other questions online?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. It was great to see everybody today. Next week, we're going to talk about looking for patterns. I'm also going to talk about medicine. I always talk about nutrition, so there's always going to be nutrition in it. I can't help myself. But yeah, we're going to get more into how the body works and looking for patterns, whether you have diabetes or you don't. Like I said, this class is open to everybody. I'm just trying to get the word out. The more plants we can have, the better it is for our guts, and it is better for our bodies. And like I said, the United States is not protein deficient. We are vegetable deficient. I have a plant-based diet where you're having chicken or fish or beef, grass-fed beef, whatever you want to have, maybe 3 times a week instead of 21 times a week. You know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So yeah, I'm with Ambler Nutrition. I have a website. If you have any questions, there's ways that you can contact me there. And I do personal nutrition counseling. So amblernutrition.com if you want to go to my website, and I can be in touch with you that way. My email is my name, kirstenfpuskar@gmail.com. But my phone number and everything is on my website. I'm in Ambler. Kirsten Puskar is really hard to spell, so that's why I went with Ambler Nutrition. And yeah, so we'll see you again next week. Tell your friends, it's free, you just got to register, and call Mary Angela so that she knows you're coming. And if you want to stay home and do Zoom, it's hard for me, but I can do it. And like, yeah, next week we're going to talk about patterns, you know, things to look for in our bodies. And Ted, you said something?
Just one last thing. There was this article on your eyes. I was, you know, giving my exam, and they talk about it. It says it's smart to eat a diet. Sounds like you. A diet in leafy green vegetables and other high in antioxidants, which I was going to ask you about, which may help slow the progression of age-related macular degeneration and other issues. You know, so again, the vegetables help the eyes, or
Yeah,
what's
the
antioxidant?
The antioxidant is the 4 vitamins. It's vitamin C, everybody knows, but vitamin E, vitamin A, and I believe vitamin K is also an antioxidant. It does many different things besides scabs and cartilage and things. So, but A, D, and E are the 3 antioxidant vitamins. But just so you know, again, there's hundreds of phytonutrients in beets and red cabbage and green beans and all these different colors that we don't know everything about, and a lot of them act as antioxidants. And the big thing with that is it just makes our cells stronger so that they can do what they want to do better, and that we won't get sick. And if we do get sick, we can heal fast. So yeah, the antioxidants are vitamin C. You'll see it as citric acid. That's another form of vitamin C. But it's in, yes, it's in all the vegetables.
Help your eyes out, right?
Yeah. And it's in all the vegetables, not just the leafy greens. Broccoli has lots of vitamin A. Spinach, is also vitamin A. Then, you think vitamin A, it has to be orange. No, these green vegetables are fantastic. So, yeah, think about just go to the grocery store, look at all the vegetables, and usually around the corner or in the vegetables, you'll see the tofu. I'm not a fan of tofu, but when it's baked and marinated, all these are proteins that are low in fat. Again, that helps our body absorb the protein without having the fat to block our insulin receptors. Yeah, fun.
Growing up, it was always eat your carrots
Yeah,
for your eyes.
that and especially
Exactly right. That's what I-
and that's a lot of vitamin A, and it helps with night vision. So we always think that it's like, can you see far away? But it really is the night vision. So if you know that you're going to see relatives and you're going to be doing a lot of, driving at night, I do this myself. Is I will take the carrots and grate them because then they're a little bit nicer in a salad. You don't have that big hard crunch. But just the grated carrots, you can buy grated carrots now. I have recipes where you can do this and with walnuts and curry and the fake and bacon. And oh, I'm getting hungry right now. So I hopefully we'll get back to doing our cooking classes, but probably not till next spring or summer. It was really good seeing everybody. Thank you for coming. Tell your friends, and thanks for being on Zoom. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much.